So what are we doing?
Well, it's a good question. What are we doing? This is 365 Unplugged, a new impromptu series where Alistair and myself will talk about some random stuff to do with 365. The format of the show will be we approach this, we come at it with a topic each, then play paper, rock, scissors to figure out who discusses it, then bang it out and see how we go. So you go first, Al. Any topics you want to talk about?
SharePoint Server 2019 has been officially announced and generally available. Although, well, that would be my topic.
All right. For me, I want to talk about the passwordless future that Microsoft is predicting. All right, so let's go. Let's paper, rock, scissors this.
Okay.
Scissors.
Okay.
All right, I get to talk about the exciting world of passwords. So at Ignite, Microsoft talked about wanting to get rid of passwords completely and use things like Windows Hello, which I've got in my Surface Book, my Brio camera, and multi-factor authentication. Is this going to be reality? What do you think? Personally, I think that this will work for maybe your operating system, but what about websites? We still need to log into a password with websites, and not all websites use the same password format. What do you think?
Well, are they going to tie? Remember, they're trying to tie it into the Authenticator app, right?
Yeah.
All right. So any Microsoft application that you've configured, that you've enrolled into MFA as well as conditional access and all of those other things, would then work with passwordlessness.
Yeah, in theory.
Yeah, so not only would you, well, Windows Hello. So on your devices that support that, it will do smile at the camera and it will digest your stuff. Yeah. On your iOS devices with fingerprint reading, you can use a biometric scanner, right, to do the same thing, not just
yeah. And I can do iris scanning on my Samsung Galaxy S8.
Iris.
Yeah, it looks at my eyes. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't get like the fancy sci-fi, none of that stuff. No.
Okay. Look, I think it's a step in the right direction. Some time back, Paul Hunt was talking about the augmentation of what happens with multi-factor authentication. So currently what you do is you go to portal.office.com, you put in your username, and then you put in your password, and then it does MFA, right? So what Paul was talking about was doing MFA first and then taking your password. So your MFA would come through your Authenticator app on your device, and then you'd use your fingerprint or however else to authenticate and then grab your password. But being passwordlessness, in South Africa, we had this thing called internetlessness. So it was a weird term.
Wait, is that when you lose connectivity?
It was an ISP advertising connectivity, but I think it's a good thing though. How many times do you have to remember passwords?
Well, tons. And I've got a few like sets of passwords, and then I've got variations of them. And if I go onto this website, I kind of have a rough idea what the password is, and but then I use like a password manager. I won't disclose so that you don't know which one to hack me on. The challenge with this approach, though, that Microsoft is talking about is only if the world uses Edge as the browser, because that's the problem. The moment I go to a website, it's not going to know about my Windows credentials because Chrome doesn't know or care about my Windows credentials. Firefox doesn't care. It's only Edge goes, hey, signed into Windows, I can use you. So the thing is, if I go to log into Amazon, they've got their own authentication.
Yes, that's what I said. Is it only linked to Microsoft apps?
Well, this is what I wonder, like, how do they envisage a passwordless future if it's just the operating system? They must be thinking bigger.
Well, you can pass from an SSO perspective, and it's not single sign-on anymore, it's a seamless sign-on, because Microsoft's changed the name. So seamless sign-on. You can pass that session state in a browser across, like you do in any browser, Chrome, Safari. I think Safari takes it a little bit. Safari is a little bit more cooked into that. It works a bit better than something like Chrome or Firefox. It works more like Edge would. But I really think that Yeah, from a browser perspective, they'll be able to send that session across, and it will authenticate. And then there's some sort of authorization on the back end. But for me, it's only about Microsoft apps. So forget Facebook, forget a link, or maybe LinkedIn, but it would pass through that credentials too. Well, I mean, you still have that now anyway, though.
No, and I think what this does for me is I personally don't believe we'll get to a passwordless future because there's always going to be some lazy admin who doesn't want to use an integrated authentication mechanism, just username, password, because they want to own the identity instead of rely on an external identity provider like Azure Active Directory or Facebook or Google, whatever. What I do think, though, it does is opens the conversation to say, hey, have you heard about this? Let's talk about passwords and authentication in your organization. Do you use MFA? No? What? Why? Because so many organizations I do my Office 365 reviews for, I have not seen a single one where MFA has been enabled for admins, let alone users.
But the thing is, when I talk about... Now, isn't it? Yeah, well, MFA has been switched on by default for admins.
Well, that's the no, I think it's coming, which I think is a great step. But the thing that I do is I tell people, hey, this Microsoft Authenticator, install it on your phone, use it in your personal lives. You worry about getting hacked on Facebook or your account details getting stolen, take a step in the right direction, use the Authenticator. I've been using the Authenticator app on my previously Windows phone, obviously Android for the last couple of years. I use it for everything. I use it for eBay. I use it for, my video stopped working apparently. Lovely. It's live. I use it for basically everything, for Amazon, for eBay, for anything I use at all on the web. If it supports MFA, I use the Authenticator app.
Yeah, but what sort of skills would you require the generic user, right? So you're back. So the generic user, you've got a power company in Hong Kong that's got 6,000 users.
Yep.
So how do you, and from any from a full spectrum demographic, so from 24 to 65.
What kind of use skills? If you know how to use a phone, you should be able to use MFA. I think this excuse is unacceptable that people say they're not IT users anymore. You are responsible for your own security, both in your personal life and in your work life. For so long we've been educating, passwords are like underpants, change them regularly, don't reuse them, that kind of stuff. Don't put post-it notes on your monitor with your password. Don't use obvious things. Like, come on, people, come on, end user, grow up. I'm sorry. You can't expect the workplace to make you more secure and nurture you and coddle you when in your personal life, your security is just absolutely atrocious. You are responsible for your own security. Your workplace is responsible for protecting their data, their systems. And in that instance, you, the user, are the weakest link because they can secure everything else, but they can't secure you. So they're securing you not to protect you, but to protect the data. So I think in this world, like, I'm sorry, if the thing that I do is, hey, end user, do you have one of these? Congratulations, you're walking around with $1,000 computer in your phone in your pocket. You are an IT user if you have one of these. Unless you have a Nokia flip phone, you're an IT user. So take security responsibly.
I don't know. There's always kickback from business because there's a 57-year-old gentleman that knows nothing about IT. He doesn't even have Facebook on his phone. So here's a perfect example. I've got a friend that stays in Frankfurt. It is complete radio silence when it comes to social media. He's off the grid. And he actually works for a Linux company, strangely enough, but he's off the grid. So the concept of seamless sign-on, single sign-on, authenticator app, and those things he's not used to. But he's a 33-year-old. So those are the extreme circumstances or the extenuating circumstances.
And you manage those. You manage by exception.
Yeah, but I suppose with the right governance and transition plan, you can get anyone to use anything at any point in time.
Yeah, and I think the reality is people shouldn't be sitting on the sidelines waiting for the vendor to say be more secure. You've been able to be more secure for years. Start now. Like if you look at the secure score in Office 365, the first thing it says is enable MFA for admins. Like, come on. Anyway, we're over our 5-minute allocation, so we probably need to stop.
Bye-bye, everybody. We got to move it to 15 minutes. So this is the 15-minute conversation.
This is the intro, so it's longer.
Yeah.
So the other ones will be shorter and sharper. Bye, everybody.